Jerusalem is witnessing its most serious clampdown in a decade after a series of knife attacks on Israelis. Today, police shot dead a Palestinian who attempted to stab a policeman in the old city, and a 70-year-old woman was attacked outside a bus station. In the past 2 weeks of violence in East Jerusalem, 7 Israelis and 32 Palestinians have died. Violence partly triggered by Palestinians' anger over what they see as increased Jewish encroachment on the Al-Aqsa Mosque compound. Our diplomatic editor, Mark Urban, is in Jerusalem. Mark.
Well, Kirsty, this city tonight is in a very nervous state. There's no other way to put it. I've been speaking to people during the day, a border police officer who said he felt the city was on the verge of some kind of explosion, hearing similar things from Palestinians. And of course, there's already been, as you've mentioned, quite a degree of violence, a lot of it self-starting, if you like, by people who've taken action on their own behalf. Now, for many years, there was a peace process between Israelis and Palestinians. People became very cynical about it, particularly on the Palestinian side. Many of them argued that this was just a method of perpetuating Israeli occupation. But in the last 7 months, since the re-election of the Netanyahu government, there really hasn't been, particularly in the view of foreign diplomats, any kind of viable peace process going on. And in the absence of that, as a safety valve and providing some sort of political horizon, there are many people who worry that tensions between the communities here have now grown to an unmanageable extent. And that's why things have been happening of the kind you're about to see in our report, which does contain some distressing images. And that's why some Israeli commentators tonight are talking about an atomized situation with nobody able to lead or stop this violence. Others are calling it a third intifada.
We rushed to Damascus Gate after reports of a shooting. There we saw the corpse of a Palestinian who'd just been shot dead. He was the 30th Palestinian killed this month, some in demonstrations, others attacking Israelis. This is him, dressed in camouflage and brandishing a knife. He charged police right in front of foreign reporters, a suicidal act and a symptom of the murderous passions of this moment.
Well, people talk about a cycle of violence, but this is an extraordinary example of it. A man who police say was trying to stab one of their officers was shot dead by 2 Israeli soldiers. And it's pretty much exactly what happened in this same place, Damascus Gate, on Saturday to another Palestinian. He also was shot dead. That's how tense the atmosphere is here.
The body was stretchered away. Another life sacrificed in this modern struggle for holy places. Heading into the old city's narrow streets, paramilitary police outnumbered Israeli civilians or foreign tourists. For this violence has claimed 8 Israeli lives too and scared many away. The show of force was announced this morning, one of several measures aimed at containing escalation.
As of this morning, there are more than 300 soldiers that are working under the command of the Israeli National Police in order to heighten security. And at the same time, there's a possibility that there will be different roadblocks that will be set up in and around the different Israeli Arab neighborhoods, and that is necessary in order to prevent any further attacks of taking place in Jerusalem or around any other areas of the capital.
One Arab neighborhood of Jerusalem and home to several recent attackers is Jebel al-Muqadda. Right-wing Israeli ministers have called for Palestinian villages to be locked down, and we saw this woman trying to get to work being turned back. But you can find your way through, for it nestles against Jewish suburbs. It was tense today, as you might expect, given that attackers from here killed 2 Israelis nearby yesterday. But we heard hopes that an abyss could be averted.
All the time we are friends. I have too much Jewish friends with me, and all the time the Jewish come to my house, to my home. Some Jewish is very nice. Some Jewish he don't speak anything for you, and he don't smile. He is you don't see that his teeth. Why?
The Israelis have been alarmed by the apparently leaderless nature of this new wave of violence. They've also been shocked by the fact that so much of it has sprung from Palestinian villages that are suburbs of Jerusalem. They're on the Israeli side of the separation wall, in places where the two communities had been living closely together.
Israeli neighbours in Almon Hanatziv were scarce on the streets. This was the bus route attacked yesterday, and several sped past almost empty. Many people are choosing to stay away or indoors.
It's scary to walk around in the street after 10 o'clock at night. On regular days, I get out of work at 10 and the street's empty, and it's frightening to walk around when there are no people. You have no idea where a terrorist may come from, run you over, stab or do something to you.
But today's measures didn't stop this. A further knife attack on a woman in her 70s and another Palestinian gunned down as he did it. Hamas leaders have applauded these attacks and talked of an intifada or uprising. And tonight, the leader of the Palestinian Authority blasted Israel's clampdown.
We seek righteousness, fairness and peace. We have said to the whole world from the United Nations that we will not allow this situation to continue in occupied Palestine, and we wouldn't surrender to the logic of wanton force, the policies of occupation and the aggression of the Israeli government and settlers who are practicing terrorism against our people, holy sites, houses and trees.
This evening there were signs of a more permanent setting up of checkpoints around Palestinian villages. A kind of division within Israel's capital that its leaders have long wanted to avoid, but which this crisis has now prompted.